In class, we were assigned an article to read on PS Mag's website by Laura Miller regarding fan fiction. And she raises a question whether or not fan fiction is the next generation of literature. And I feel that it is. I know that there is a lot of talk about fan fiction not being original, or I know a lot of critics or non-critics who think they are critics like to say that fan fiction isn't good. And I know that there is a lot of fan fiction out there that isn't good. Like if you go on to fanfiction.net, there's millions upon millions of different fan fictions ranging anywhere. I think the top two, I'll use that as an example, is Harry Potter or Twilight. And though I would agree with some of the critics that it isn't the best written piece of work that anybody has ever made, I feel like that's not the point. Because despite those grammatical errors and the lack of plot line and a lack of interesting material, we are in a generation where people can go and read something and they can be inspired by it, and they can go forth on the internet and post things, their ideas, where they would like to take a book or a movie, or there's real life people that they make stories about. But the fact of the matter is that they are inspired. And I think that the day of the internet, it just makes that more accessible. In Miller's article, she said that William Makepeace Thackeray was one of England's most celebrated authors, and he got his success from making basically a fan fiction. And it was really celebrated, and it no doubt went on to inspire more. Even if you want to go back even further, you got William Shakespeare. He took little stories and he created his plays, like Othello. Othello was a different story, and he changed the names, he changed the happenings, and it went on to be something else. So I feel like not going in time to where we are now, people are giving E.L. James a lot of flack for, I guess you can say, copying Stephenie Meyer. And I've read a lot of comments on discussion boards and Twitter where people are claiming that E.L. James is a less talented version of Stephenie Meyer. And I feel like that's wrong, and that's not fair. Somebody asked John Green, the author of Fault in Our Stars and Paper Towns and The Abundance of Catherines, etc., if he would create a sequel to The Fault in Our Stars because it was such a success. And he blatantly told the person asking the question no, because he felt that he gave people his books, and once it's in the hands of the readers, it's their duty and maybe responsibility to take that with what they want. They can create their own ending. They can create their own realities for his characters beyond what he wrote at the last page of his book. And I think this is something that a lot of people should keep in mind, because once a book is out of the author's hands, it's not theirs anymore. So let's go back to Stephenie Meyer and E.L. James about Twilight. Somebody asked her, Stephenie Meyer, if she thought about it, about 50 Shades of Grey in the beginning of E.L. James' success. And Stephenie Meyer responded that Bella and Edward and her series was only a springboard for E.L. James, because it might have not existed in the platform that it is now, but James had that story in her, and it would have come out some way or another. And she had that springboard of Twilight, and she was inspired to finally get that out of her. And she was egged on by the Twilight fandom because they loved her story so much. And I was one of those people who read it as she was writing it, which was very interesting in and of itself, because I feel that fanfiction writers are under more pressure maybe than regular authors, because they're producing their story on like a timeline, and they have people in their ear with what they want to happen. And then E.L. James ended up taking down the story, and she independently published it, and then all of a sudden everybody was talking about it, and then it was being sold at Barnes & Noble and Target, and it just snowballed to be something that in and of itself was bigger than anybody could ever have imagined. And to answer the question, to go back to the question, I think this proves more than anything that fan fiction is the next generation of literature. And I think that the biggest factor behind this is the fact that we are in a day and age where internet is so accessible to just anybody, and anybody can go on there and post their ideas and their thoughts, and I think that's special. I think that's far beyond what past literature is. Fan fiction is the future, and I think that the sooner that we embrace that and get over the fact that everybody is using everybody else's material, because it is true, people are using each other's materials, but that's life. And as soon as we embrace that fact, the more sooner that we can get to enjoying what people are producing and where their creativity is taking them.